Hello everyone. Today we visited the Zimmerman Automotive Driving Museum, which is located at El Segundo, California. This museum has a collection of vintage cars from the 20s and 30s and a section of the 80s also. As soon as you get in the museum, you're gonna start from the right side and you're gonna find the Invincible shack built in 1904. These were called high wheelers because the wheels were high. You had the radiator in front of it, and then you have well, you have the crank behind it. You're gonna see it right now behind it, and to have the roof on top, you have to pay extra money for that one. It was kind of expensive for the manufacturers to build it. And here, this is where your crank it was at. Remember, in the beginning, the first cars you had to crank it from the front, and this vehicle was one of the first electrical cars that was built. They became really popular because they didn't have to warm up or crank it. They didn't have to deal with the smell of the oil. They didn't have to deal with the vibration of the vehicle. The electrical car was really quiet, so it became really popular in the beginning. Keep in mind that before 1912, those vehicles used to be cranked from the outside, from the front or the rear. This vehicle that you see here, it was one of the first vehicles that had electric started from the inside. Charles Kettering came out with a solution, and it made it easier for women to operate and drive a vehicle, and they didn't have to put themselves in danger. Sometimes when you crank the vehicle, because the vehicles in the beginning, you have to crank it from the front, right? So when you crank it, it will turn on, and then sometimes it might run over you, and then it could kill you or harm you. Or sometimes the engine will backfire, and then it will break your arm maybe. And so in order to overcome this obstacle, Charles Kettering came up with the idea of turning the engine from the inside on the driver's side. The vehicles that you see here, I think those belong to like personal vehicles, like custom-made vehicles. Those are unique, and they don't take you out for a ride on these ones, and so they can take you out for a ride with the other ones. But these ones are unique, they're like personal vehicles. This section of the museum was closed, but sometimes they open it up, so I couldn't really read any signage about these vehicles, except they're like from the 30s, 1930s or 40s, and that's all I know about these vehicles. But it's good to admire these vehicles because the ornamentation is pretty nice, pretty good. It's really pretty. They look clean, really super clean. And here is an example of an engine, the engine block, the one you just saw right now. And I'm not sure if you had to pay extra to get into the area, but I've seen other videos and other pictures that people are inside checking those vehicles out. Now you're gonna see like a gas station. I don't know why, you're probably in the 20s, 30s maybe. And remember, guys, in the beginning, the vehicles used to be like open, like convertibles. And if you were rich or wealthy, had a good job, you could design the vehicle and tell the manufacturer to have a roof on it, so you can have a private conversation with your friends or family. And the driver usually was outside. He was exposed to the elements, the rain, the sun, and everything else. But Henry Ford, I think this is a T Ford, and Henry Ford came out with the idea that everybody has to have a vehicle. Everybody, you know, he wanted to create a vehicle for everybody, a vehicle that everybody can afford or anybody can afford. Before, the wealthy people used to have vehicles with roof and windows, but now Henry Ford wanted to have it extra, not extra, but included in the same price as anybody else. Putting a roof in the vehicle and window, it was really expensive for the manufacturers unless you were really wealthy. But Henry Ford, he was able to make it cheaper and affordable to everybody. People used to work about 96 hours per week, and so people didn't have time to go outside, have a good time with the families or travel. So Henry Ford, he came out with the idea of changing the 96-hour work week for 5 days, 40 hours per week. And the idea behind it was that, giving more time to people, having the weekends off, Saturday, Sunday, they would go out with the family or girlfriends, boyfriends, and then they would spend money on food or traveling. And since people were gonna have more time for themselves to travel, he had the idea maybe they were gonna buy a vehicle, and actually it worked, and it worked pretty good. They started buying vehicles, and they started traveling all over the United States. However, by 1929, the a big depression came to the United States. Stocks, bonds, and everything went down, and so a lot of people lost their jobs. There was not enough food, and there was no customers around to buy those vehicles, those cars, and so a lot of manufacturers were affected by the Big Depression. It lasted around 10 years. In order for those businesses to be still, to be in business still and not go bankrupt, they decided the automakers decided to target the wealthy people or the ones who still has jobs, and so they came out with the idea of redesigning those vehicles and make them more attractive to them, like putting more ornaments, beautiful designs like this one that you see now. This is like from the 1930s, right in the middle of the Depression era. During this time, from all those automakers that were created in the early 1900s, only 10 of those automakers survived. And from those 10 automakers, only like 3 of them were the major ones. It's probably Ford, Chrysler, and maybe Oldsmobile. I'm not sure about that one, but yeah, a lot of automakers were affected by the depression. And that's like Packard models or a Packard vehicle. I never heard Packard before. What helped to combat or improve the economy of the United States during the Depression was that World War II broke out. And so when World War II broke out, a lot of jobs were created. And so people rushed to get those jobs. Men went to war, even women took jobs, and then there was more money around. And so when the soldiers came back from the war, they wanted to have family cars like sedans or convertibles, and the manufacturers, the automakers, they start getting more vehicles in circulation or selling more vehicles, and so that helped them to prosper, and everything was stabilizing. Look at these vehicles; they're really pretty, really nice. On Sundays, if you come here on Sundays, they can take you for a ride, and they give you like about 10-minute ride in these vehicles. Not on all of them, but on some of these vehicles they can take you out on Sundays only, and it's really interesting because when you sit on those seats, it feels like those old beds that we used to have back in the 70s, 80s. That's how it feels. You feel the springs, and when you open the door and you close it, it feels kind of heavy. You have to put some force on it. Nowadays, you don't have to put too much. You don't have to slam it or anything like that. But this one, yeah, you feel the difference. What a beautiful cars! Look at this one too. This black one here, nice and beautiful. You'll be ashamed to crash or have an accident. And this is what I was talking about. During the depression, the only few customers available. They were getting targeted by the automakers so they can buy these vehicles. Look at these ones, nice, beautiful. Those got my attention. And that one too. Look how nice it is. They have military vehicles too. They have like a couple of those. I just didn't know the story behind them. And in the 50s, people were interested in space, and so space rockets, and so automakers came out with the design. Remember those vehicles with the fins on the back? Well, those came out in the 50s. That's because the people were interested in like rockets, planes, space exploration, velocities, and so that's the reason why we see those kind of vehicles. I remember those, and they also use a lot of chrome. I remember those too. And this is the 80s section, I believe. And I'm pretty sure you've seen these vehicles before. I remember a lot of those in the 80s, 90s too. And well, I don't know, I don't have much info about these vehicles, but yeah, definitely you should come here. Definitely you should come with your family and kids. This is the only museum that you can get inside and try them yourself. You can get inside and pretend you're driving one of these vehicles. And this museum is open Tuesday through Sunday. I think it's closed on Monday and Tuesday, and that's it. They open from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. Sundays they give you a ride in these vehicles. Yeah, you can get a ride in this one. Just show up at 10 early, and that's it. Oh, I like this vehicle. Look, it looks nice and mean, huh? I like this one. It probably have a nice engine, a powerful engine too. This red one too. Then you got those the latest ones. Well, not the latest one, but the last two racing cars in this exhibition. I don't know what kind of car is it, but they look pretty neat. I mean, pretty mean. Really powerful engines. And yeah, but yeah, definitely you should come here. It's $15 per person per adult, and kids about $5. And it's really worth it. I believe it's really worth it. Come over here, and then you're gonna have a good time here. Well, thank you for watching my video. Hope you guys like this video. Uh, I'll see you next adventure, next place we can check it out. And thank you very much. I'll see you next time, guys.